Let's continue talking about Parkinson's disease. There are some things that are considered myths, things that are assumed or just thought about Parkinson's, and I wanted to go over that. The first one relates very much to something we discussed in the first class session about PD, and that's something it's just an old way of thinking about it, that it only impacts motor skills. And we know, similar to Huntington's disease, now that it also impacts cognitive skills as well as psychosocial. Another myth is that everybody with Parkinson's has tremors, and that, in fact, is not accurate. The majority of people do, but not everyone. And especially when you consider that some people with Parkinson's have a either a deep brain stimulator or are on levodopa, so that the tremors are temporarily or for a period of time under control. Sometimes people will think that there's really nothing that can be done about Parkinson's or its symptoms except for being on medication. And as OT practitioners, we know that that's not accurate. Exercise, incorporating balanced activities into a healthy lifestyle, those are some things that also can help. People live for a long time with Parkinson's disease. I think the case studies were highlighting that pretty well. And so while it is hard, I think, to adjust to the idea of having a progressive and chronic condition like that, it's important for people, especially in the early stages after diagnosis, to understand that they can have a long, full life ahead of them. And the last one relates to the deep brain stimulation that we talked about in class already. People are saying that sometimes it's experimental and it seems kind of sci-fi, kind of, advanced. But as I mentioned in class, it has been around since the late 90s and as an FDA approved treatment, and more ways of using that in an FDA treatment approved way have been added since then. So it is indeed not experimental. It's not for everybody. But when somebody does qualify for it, it can be really life-changing. Let's zoom our lens out a little bit about tremor. So what is it? The general definition, or how would we explain it? What does it look like? It's unintentional rhythmic muscle movements with oscillations, that's like back and forth, in at least one body part, sometimes just one, sometimes more than one. And it's considered, outside of Parkinson's disease, it's considered the most common of all involuntary movements that are atypical. There are different types of tremors, as I mentioned in class. Um, they can be classified in two ways. One, by their appearance or when they are observed or experienced and when they are not. And so that way of classifying would be resting tremor, as is associated most often with Parkinson's, and action or intention tremor. And that's when the tremor is apparent when someone is going to do something, like reaching for a coffee cup on the table, as opposed to a resting tremor, which is at rest. The second way to classify a tremor is by the reason that it's happening. So what really is behind it? And the one of those is called essential or benign tremor, really kind of meaning we don't know why it's happening. And that's more common than people might think. Then there is the Parkinson's disease tremor. That's the origin of it, and other types of tremor out there. So important to know there that it's classified by either appearance or when it happens, and then the cause or origin of it. And we have, with Parkinson's, is more commonly associated the resting tremor. So here are some questions that I really want you to consider as you go through the additional materials. When is OT indicated for Parkinson's? What is the overall focus or objective of OT for people with Parkinson's? And notice that abbreviation you'll see out there, uppercase P, lowercase w, uppercase P. That's on a lot of Facebook groups and, in kind of mainstream literature that might be for people with Parkinson's or their caregivers. You might see the PWP. And when would OT intervention not be appropriate, or when would you wrap it up? Knowing that this is a progressive condition, that can be kind of tricky for some people to think about sometimes. So, those are the questions that I want you to think about as you go through the additional materials. These would be the top goals of OT intervention for people with Parkinson's as have been identified over time in multiple studies. And these things were really mentioned in the case studies and in our discussion in the first class session about Parkinson's, to maximize or enhance safety and at the same time reduce risk of falls or other safety infractions like getting burned or cut on a broken glass, reducing effort and increasing safety with bath transfers. So that's specific to that function. Reducing effort and improving efficiency during IADLs, especially kitchen tasks. And then we have fatigue. So thinking about that efficiency of movement and energy expenditure there. Reducing effort during transfers. And so that's going to be for somebody in the mid or possibly late stage of Parkinson's. Improving efficiency and satisfaction during mealtime. So with eating and drinking, and that would be related to adaptive equipment that we would recommend. Leisure activities, and that's something never to be overlooked in OT intervention. And then dressing. So lots of function there, lots of focus on efficiency, fatigue management or energy conservation, and also safety. All right. You're going to read more about this in the materials provided, but these things would generally be the focus of OT intervention. Fall prevention, transfers, the things that are going to be worked on as specific occupations or activities in an OT session or a whole intervention plan. Exercise, and this relates closely to the people in your class that are volunteering at Rock Steady Boxing. Knowing that regular exercise is a great way to slow the progression of Parkinson's, while at the same time addressing on an even shorter timeline the benefits of safety and awareness and risk prevention. So important to think about. And I had to highlight Rock Steady Boxing there. And another, trying to move that thing, another treatment that is out there or activity set, which is called LSVT Big. Some of you might have heard of it, and it would be worth Googling and taking a look at that. But I'm going to play you a little clip up here.
So what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate each exercise one time, and then we want you to try to follow along. She's going to be doing all seated exercises, and I'm going to be doing the standing when we start. There's 2 seated, and I'll be doing the standing exercises. Obviously, you'll be doing everything but captain. But it's a little competition. This side is on her team. So if you want her to win, you gotta really go at it, and we gotta really hear this. Whoever's louder and bigger, for her, they're gonna win. This is my side. You gotta represent for me over here, okay? So we're gonna start the program right now, ready? Sit up big. Oh, we can demonstrate first? Yeah, we're gonna demonstrate one first, and then you're gonna follow up. Then you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One. Okay, so you guys are follow up. We're just gonna do a couple, right? Out. Down. Okay. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One. Out. Down. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. What? Hey. Okay, Simon. Okay. So, Rachel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, one more each way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right. So I think that's interesting. So in case you're wondering, LSVT actually stands for Lee Silverman Voice Treatment. And that was the origin of it. But in short, it's a treatment program that is specifically designed for people with Parkinson's to improve their motor symptoms like bradykinesia and also the smaller handwriting. Micrographia is the technical term for that. It's an intensive program. It's not something that's done over a long period of time. The program is 4 weeks of daily 1-hour sessions. And to officially use this intervention, you have to be certified in it. The focus really of it, and this is something that even if you're not specifically trained and certified, you could use in your intervention, is to make movements big, exaggerated, amplified, whether that's reaching or grasping or moving or even speaking, that everything needs to be bigger in nature, because making it bigger, amplifying it in and of itself works on motor strength, postural stability, and so forth. Another component besides being amplitude based is repetition and practice, which you can see here. And then also a personalized approach, of course, that there'll be different specific elements of it that need to be practiced more by individuals with certain challenges. And so it is much more focused on the motor aspects of Parkinson's, which in this theory carries over into function and reduced impact of Parkinson's on daily living. There are some LSVT big certified OTs in this area. What I have seen is that they will generally suggest this program as part of working with individuals, but the program is often cash based. So not ideal for people that don't have a lot of means, because it is expensive and insurance is generally not going to cover any sort of intervention in a rehab context that often, not every day for 4 weeks. So it is often cash based. All right, to wrap up this part of your asynchronous module, I will leave you with the 7 tenets of for life, which comes from a resource that I'm also going to post, the Parkinson's disease 360. So really kind of looking at Parkinson's disease challenges in a round, full circle way. So I'll leave you with these. Be sure to go through the other resources, and then there's going to be a short wrap-up assignment for you.